Is it possible that Cameron has gone too far? Because his decades-long relationship with Jim Jones might have been ruined by what was just leaked? And it's not a publicity stunt this time. There has been a video of Chrissy Lampkin that is private, intimate, and definitely not intended for public consumption. This is where the streets are murmuring, though. Insiders are pointing fingers at Cameron. Was this a misguided petty move? Or was this a planned treachery designed to make Jim look as bad as possible? Jim isn't keeping quiet now. His anger, which has been suppressed for decades, is erupting on all platforms. And it's no longer simply about the video. We are discussing the back room, bargains, lost chances, and a brotherhood that may have been a deception all along. Have you ever seen two kings become adversaries in real time? This breakup isn't a dipset. It is a destruction of a dipset. And believe me, what you're going to hear next will permanently alter your perception of Cameron. For the truth isn't merely startling. It's unsightly. You won't be able to unsee it once you hear it. Therefore, avoid blinking, scrolling, and clicking away. This is where the end begins. After all these years of street brotherhood, hip-hop royalty, and dipset loyalty, you'd think Cameron wouldn't dare breach some sort of unwritten line. However, it seems that loyalty dies silently because of what just transpired. It's nuclear, not just betrayal. Let's go back in time. A leak, not just any leak, was the beginning of it all. This one was emotionally offensive, graphic, and intimate. Chrissy Lampkin, Jim's lifelong girlfriend, ride or die, and highly regarded matriarch figure, appears in a private film. Jones's life suddenly came to light on a dubious burner Twitter account with no followers, no tags, and no captions, just the uncut, unprocessed footage placed on the timeline like a digital bomb. Initially, they believed it to be a deepfake. Then they believed it to be old video. However, Chrissy's face became popular within hours, and the internet went into detective mode, which is what it does best. Modifications began to appear. Reactions on TikTok went viral, and Twitter was already saying, "Cam did it," before anyone could verify or refute the validity of the video. Now, why would Cameron release such a video? How could he possibly benefit from sharing something so personal? Was it retaliation or spite? Or is there something more sinister and rotting beneath the surface of their alleged fraternity? Since this wasn't the first time that Cam and Jim had a falling out, let's take a moment to discuss history. You see, Dipset was never what it seemed on the surface. Behind the colorful bandanas and gaudy music videos, there was always backroom economic dealings, power struggles, and silent rivalry about who actually controlled the crew. Cameron, the mastermind of charisma, Jim Jones, the street muscle and the heart. However, the more their dominion expanded, the more flaws became apparent. There were moments, subtly offensive remarks made during interviews, cryptic Instagram posts, passive-aggressive poetry, and then there were the explosive ones, such as the notorious 2017 Hot 97 interview, in which Cam revealed everything from financial information to internal rivalries. Treachery. Jim sobbed. Cam kept his cool. The fans were perplexed. However, the core audience of Dipset was aware that this was an injury that never went away. In 2025, we are once again experiencing that trauma. Now, though, it's Chrissy, family, and not music. This is exacerbated by the past between Cameron and Chrissy. Do you recall the early 2000s? Chrissy was a mainstay in the scene back then, not only as Jim's partner, but also as a shrewd businesswoman who was making genuine moves. Rumors persisted that Cam disapproved and believed Chrissy was dictating Jim's business choices. According to some, Cam even attempted to get Jim to break up with her, concentrate on his music, and become less docile. In those days, it had sounded like innocuous barber hop banter. In retrospect, though, that could have been the seed. The long-simmering, silent animosity that developed over many years. Now, with just one leak, Cameron could have unleashed all of that long-standing hostility in the most unsettling way imaginable. According to people familiar with the matter who talked to us under anonymity for their own safety, the video was shot over 10 years ago. An intimate event that was never intended to be public knowledge. Nevertheless, it did. However, this is where things get even more suspicious. One insider claims that the video was kept on a now-defunct hard drive made by Dipset, one that was only ever available to a select handful. one that Cam claimed when the crew parted ways following their dispute in the middle of 2010. Coincidence or premeditated retaliation? Even more startling? A few days before to the leak, Cam and Jim were seen together at a Rock Nation breakfast, posing for photos, joking like old friends, and even hinting at a potential reunion tour of the Dipset. Therefore, if this leak was indeed from Cam's, was it planned camp? Was he planning to drop a bomb and acting nice? Jim was not silent for long. Jim Jones shared a black video on social media less than 24 hours after it was released. 3 words to bring up his Instagram story: "I recognize you." The fans went crazy. Comments went wild. Cam is here. He succeeded. Forever dead, Dipset. Jim is going it alone. Observe. The actual clapback then took place on Instagram Live. In an unadulterated live stream that attracted Jim unleashed more than 120K spectators in just a few minutes. No PR crew, no script, just pain and anger. What you guys say doesn't matter to me. Since day one, this man has been envious of me. 1. Into the camera, Jim spat. Family is not touched by you. My wife is not someone you toy with. It wasn't an accident, that video. It was sent to harm my feelings. There was a fire in the comment area. Viewers were crying, emojis were flying, and even die-hard Dipset fans were taking sides. However, Jim didn't stop there. He began to discuss old business. This is the same individual that withheld my 2011 tour funds. It was the same individual who said I was untrustworthy. This crew was restrained by me. Me. You now want to accuse Chrissy of being unfaithful. You're a clown. Cam, an entire clown. The treachery was no longer merely personal. The declaration of war was made in public. The internet was now overflowing with opinion pieces, Twitter threads, and podcast segments discussing if Jim was overly sentimental or whether Cam had truly gone too far. And to make matters worse, Cam remained completely mute. No declaration, no tweet, no denial, just quiet. Which is essentially an admission in the court of public opinion. Chrissy Lampkin, who usually stays calm under pressure, made a rare move of her own in the meanwhile. She archived all of the pictures that featured Cam, unfollowed him on all social media, and left a mysterious message on her account. Certain wounds are too deep. No faces, no names. We all understood, however, that this was more than beef. This was soul-level betrayal. And an unidentified insider revealed something precisely when the situation could not get much more poisonous. Darker still, alleged text exchanges about a leak strategy between Cam and an enigmatic industry acquaintance. Before a big commercial agreement, Jim's brand may be harmed by something spicy. If this goes beyond small-time theater, messages are genuine. This is sabotaging your career. Worst of all, Cam hasn't denied them yet. This raises the question of why isn't he defending himself if he didn't actually do it? While your name is being dragged through digital purgatory, why remain silent? Or perhaps, just possibly, Cam was prepared for this day and knew it would arrive. Set everything on fire. And just when we believed that turmoil had peaked, an even more surprising event occurred. And things took a crazy turn just when we believed that turmoil had peaked. Jim Jones believed he had revealed every secret Cameron might have been concealing. Yet fresh treachery layers began to surface like a web of lies. Oh, sure, the SMS messages were authentic. This is where things get very hot, though. The video wasn't the only thing leaked. No. Sources familiar with the matter claim that these text messages create a far darker picture of the supposed interactions between Cam and an unidentified industry insider. In these, Cam discusses launching a full-scale smear campaign to undermine Jim's reputation rather than simply ruining his brand with a single video leak. Standing within the sector. According to one message, let's hit him where it hurts. His woman, his money, he can be broken down with the right amount of dirt. In other words, everything that Jim Jones values, his fans, his money, his woman, became instruments in Cam's sadistic game of retaliation. Jim's Instagram Live didn't just affect the game, it changed the conversation. The message also explained how this business friend reportedly encouraged Cam to keep it low-key. It was no longer about the video, but rather the whole heritage of Dipset. And the public's opinion of the group was going to suffer greatly as both fans and business insiders began to. There were a lot of facts, half-truths, and assumptions on the internet, making people wonder if all those years of loyalty were just a bad business deal. Now that everyone was a detective, is Cam responsible for this? Was he always aiming to force Jim out of Dipset? Could this be a calculated move? For a moment, let's take a step back. If Cam really leaked the tape as part of a bigger plan to ruin Jim, it would be the most premeditated move in hip-hop history. Consider it. Removing a brother through the most personal betrayals, harming not just his professional life but also his personal life in the process, all while remaining silent. Fans began looking into Cam's past, and some unsettling trends started to show up as a result of his failure to confront it right away, which just served to stoke the flames. In a Twitter thread that emerged, fans discovered several old pictures of Cam with other rappers, old buddies who had been discarded when they were no longer needed, sending shockwaves over the internet and demonstrating that Cam was more than simply a hitmaker. He had a reputation for creating enemies. If you disagreed with him, you were doomed. His tactic was to remain silent. Because Cam knew that the world would turn against Jim and he was just enjoying the show when he went silent, he had already won. However, this is where things become really shady. Some sources claim that the leaks continued after Chrissy's video. No, we're talking about financial data, private chats, and pictures that were released to a number of blogs and dubious outlets that were more than willing to disseminate the rumors. And who was in charge of the leaks? You guessed it. A third party who had previously been connected to both Jim and Cam. Here's where it gets crazy, though. According to reports, this third party, whom we'll refer to as the Puppet Master, contacted Jim and Cam individually and made offers to them, exclusive interviews, and even attempted to arrange a fictitious reunion between them. However, there's a catch. They intended to steer the story. The Puppet Master's goal was obvious: intensify the conflict until it boiled over in order to benefit from it, make it public, and convert the entire thing into a spectacle. At the core of it all was the inability of two ex-brothers to get back together. This was not only a financial issue, it was an emotional one, the ultimate betrayal. Regardless of the facts, we cannot overlook one thing: the consequences of this. Who is actually in control? Is it Jim, Cam, or something much more sinister? We've only just begun to explore the extent of the scandal's impact on their friendship. It will also have an impact on their legacies, music, fans, and lives. In this breathtaking tale, the destruction is not only personal, but also public. And by public, we mean explosive. Because what happens when two? This isn't just about Jim and Cam anymore. What if legends fall out in the most disastrous way possible? The whole industry shudders. The entire ethos of loyalty, treachery, and ambition that underpins the hip-hop industry is at issue now, and it is disintegrating in real time as the world watches this feud. But something darker began to emerge, and the financial consequences of this treachery began to sting more severely than any lyric or diss song could, according to close sources. Both Cam and Jim, who recall having their hands in a number of profitable business endeavors, started to divulge a troubling story. They were losing a lot of money. You may assume that these are hearsay, but these aren't just any sources. Publicists, managers, former label executives, and others in their inner circles have all been feeling the effects of this dispute in the industry. And it's terrible. Really awful. Jim Jones, for instance, has had multiple endorsement deals put on indefinite pause. Collaboration with a well-known luxury brand was placed on indefinite hold since the brand didn't want to be linked to the ongoing issue and couldn't afford it. Upheaval in his personal life. Cameron's attempt to restore his independent career apparently met a huge wall, with business partners withdrawing one after another, uncertain of what to do. If supporting the rapper was worth the possible PR catastrophe. What's more strange are tales of unpaid contracts, dubious financial transactions, and even that Cam was being sued by a former label boss over accused financial mismanagement. It became evident that the drama was about more than just the music. It was about surviving, and Cam and Jim had to make some difficult decisions. Then came the lawsuits. the actual business side of the aftermath. It was as if a legal hurricane had hit, and they had to make decisions quickly or risk losing everything. Arrived, bringing with it a flurry of allegations, rebuttals, and settlements. Jim Jones was the first to go, claiming that he had formally sued Cameron for the accusations, which include slander, conspiracy, and mental distress, are related to the leaked film and the public assaults on his personal life that followed. Insiders say Jim's lawyers weren't holding back and were ready to fight it all the way to court. What was even more startling was the rumor that Jim was demanding a public apology and millions of dollars in damages from Cam. Even the most experienced lawyers were taken aback by the audacious assertion, but Cameron wasn't going to take it lying down. Instead, he counterclaimed that Jim had been extorting him for years, that Jim had manipulated business agreements and embezzled money through their connection, and that he was now demanding a sizable compensation. In the midst of all this turmoil, legal experts estimated that this case may continue for years, and the public's perception of both men began to deteriorate worse every day. The true agony begins here. The fans, who have stood by them since the beginning, are wondering if this is the end of their careers and their legacies. Fans initially didn't realize that they are the ones who are suffering the most from this catastrophe, and it is tearing them apart. They are the ones who know every word and wore every Dipset chain as if it were their own. Who to believe? While some sided with Jim, saying Cam had gone too far, others said Cam had good reason to feel deceived after years of observing Jim play second fiddle. Although the underdog story was prevalent, it was difficult to see the increasing rift between the two groups of Dipset followers until the bombshells arrived. The more fans learned about the story, the more their allegiance was questioned. After the video leak went public, leaked footage of Jim's emotional collapse appeared, including one particularly disturbing clip in which he asked. He stared at the screen of his phone and muttered, "Is this how they really feel about me after everything we've been through? Sometimes the truth hurts, but it has to be said," was the sole public statement Cam made. He remained unconcerned and stayed silent once more. No explanation, no apologies, just a calculating, icy declaration that only served to fan the flames. He was aware of the effect it would have. However, as he continued to remain mute, more people started to notice a different aspect of him. The self-centered, cunning businessman who would stop at nothing to maintain power. On social media, some supporters defended some left ship, while others chose their favorite rapper. The industry noticed that the whole Dipset fanbase was split. They lost authority the more they quarreled. Both men shared responsibility for the disintegration of their former union. Could they ever fix the damage? Became the question. Or has the legacy been permanently tarnished by their actions? Did they construct together? Since Jim's long-standing companion, Chrissy Lampkin, was undoubtedly at the center of this entire disagreement, let's now discuss Chrissy. Her name was dragged along with the turmoil, even through the dirt. It was evident that she was caught in the midst of this controversy after being publicly criticized. Fans were unaware of one item at the time, though. Chrissy was more than a helpless victim. Indeed, there were reports that Chrissy had been aware of the betrayal before anyone else. The rest of the world did. Some even asserted that she had been pressuring Jim to act against Cam after seeing the tape before it was made public. Chrissy's role in this controversy just added to the intrigue, whether it was real or not. Was she merely a pawn in this game, really? Or did she have personal reasons for remaining silent as everything collapsed? The worst part is still to come. The males were no longer the only focus of this. Their reputations, their families, and all they had worked so hard to build were all at stake. The more this dragged, the more those close to both men became enmeshed in the aftermath. In order to avoid becoming entangled in a feud that was getting out of hand, the people who had previously supported them were suddenly pulling away. We must now ask whether reconciliation is still possible. Will Jim and Cam ever be able to repair what's damaged? Or is the Dipset period really coming to an end because of this feud? Their years-long legacy is now in jeopardy. Furthermore, more than just their reputations are at stake. It is their position in hip-hop history. But after everything that has transpired, the question still remains. Is there a way to recover from this? The The public's perception changes as the cases mount, and the music, the world waits. The story is far from over. That much is certain. The latter chapters are not yet finished. However, the question of who will win this titanic conflict still stands. Of fraternity, treachery, and shattered ties? There it is. The shattered bond, the truth about the Jim Jones and Cameron dispute, and the explosive repercussions that's destroying hip-hop the world. Here's the main question, though, and I'd like your opinion. Here, who is at fault? Was this all triggered by Cam's betrayal? Or was the fire ignited by Jim's own ambition and greed? Tell me in the comments section below. Do you believe that they will ever be able to reconcile? Or is Dipset's reign coming to an end? Please remember to use the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more amazing stuff if you liked this in-depth look at the turmoil. You won't want to miss what comes next, I promise. The drama is far from over, and the entire world is watching. That concludes today's astounding tale. However, I need to hear from you before you leave. What are your thoughts? Was Cameron treated unfairly in all of this, or was Jim Jones justified in his pursuit of him? Please share your ideas in the space provided for comments below, as I'm reading each and every one. I would like to know if you support Cam or Jim, or if you believe that everything has been a mess from the beginning. If you haven't signed up, what are you waiting for, though? To be the first to know when we release the next wild story, click the subscribe button and enable notifications. Believe me, you don't want to pass up. What's next? We're only beginning to begin, and you wish to attend the actual tea. Thus, remember to like, share, and leave a comment on this video to maintain the ongoing discussion. Till the next occasion, keep an eye out, pay attention, and as the truth is always with us and we're unafraid to reveal it. I'll see you at the following one.